Hello and welcome back. Today I wanted to do a review of the Flyte saber from Pach store. Now first off, before I get too far into this, I wanted to stress that the Flyte does not come looking like this one that I have here in front of me. The Flyte's available in silver and black. This one was one of the black ones, but I find that with the black anodizing, if you want to weather it, you take some sandpaper, about 100 grit, and you just run it around in circles and you get this sort of weathered look to it. I also like to paint the inside bit here. So if you get this from Pach store, what you're going to get is solid silver or solid black. I've also added a grip down here to the bottom section. All right, so that out of the way, let me talk about this saber design, and then I'll talk about the features of the Flyte board, because this saber introduced their low-end Smoothswing board, which is the Flyte board, but more on that in just a little bit. So first off, the overall design. The design on the Flyte is very similar to, the design on the Shiva, which was their brawler sort of dueling saber. This one was the one that was very solid, designed to take a beating. It's built like a mag leg in there. All right, so you'll notice together, the Flyte and the Shiva are very similar in design. All right, the Flyte is a sound saber, so it's got a micro USB port right here. This is just for charging. There's no way to put any data on this. The data that's on there is on there. You plug it into a computer, it's not going to do anything other than charge. But this is a recharge point right here. It's got a power button, and it's all set up with one button activation. All right, the overall design of this is really nice and really well balanced. This one, like the Shiva, is one of the only sabers that you can do contact rolls with, like angel rolls and shoulder rolls and that sort of thing. So this thing is weighted about right for that. A lot of other sabers are either too heavy or too light. This one, the point of balance with a lightish blade is right about here. So when you're doing rolls and stuff, you're working just around there. You're rolling right around the emitter. All right, so it works for that sort of stuff. In terms of the features, again, more on that in just a little bit. The construction on it, the bottom section right here unscrews. And inside here you can see the Flyte board. Okay, there's no micro USB, or sorry, there's no SD card or anything in this. Everything is hard built into it. The battery is removable, though with the recharge point it doesn't really have to be. So if you want to make certain that your battery doesn't disconnect in heavy use, you could probably solder the battery in there if you had a mind to. I haven't had too much trouble with this battery disconnecting even when the saber is dropped, so it's not that big of an issue. These two screws right here secure the board in there, and this one right here secures the LED. So you just undo 3 screws and you can slide this entire mechanism out very easily. All right, the blade has 2 set screws. This one right here is very low on the blade, like the very bottom edge of it. This one is about that far up. So the blade rides down to about here. So all things told, it's a shallow socket as opposed to something like the Shiva, which has a socket depth of about like that. So it's designed for dueling. The socket depth is a little bit shallow for dueling, but it'll hold up just fine. So that part unscrews right here. Another interesting thing about this is the speaker is connected with pins. So you're used to seeing these sort of pogo or push button pins with NeoPixel blades. This is the first time I've seen them used to attach a speaker. So basically what that looks like is if I unscrew the base here, okay, use the blade, there we go. All right, unscrew the base here, there's the speaker. So I kind of like this. The speaker on this is actually a lot louder than pretty much any of the other Pach store speakers that I've seen. Things like the Nihilus Saber that they made and a lot of their others aren't nearly as loud as this thing. So they've upped their speaker game a little bit, and I like the fact that it's removable. I'm not real sure what the efficacy of this is in a single, or if this is like your only saber, but this has potential as a sort of a neat design element to be able to swap speakers in or do a speaker upgrade. I also like to think at some point that the whole internal could be, or whole internals could be modular, because they've got the Tri-Cree or NeoPixel to Tri-Cree adapter that's basically a plug that fits on top of pogo switches like that. In theory, they could make a chassis that's pogo switches to the speaker, pogo switches to the LED, and then just this sort of thing in the middle that attaches through tension. And I think that would actually be kind of cool. So if you got this with a NeoPixel, you could have that on both ends. But otherwise, just sort of a neat thing. So there's the internals, there's the speaker. This screws on, and that is the Flyte Saber. So let me talk about the board on this, because this is their new low-end board. If you get something like their Dark Saber, which I'm going to review pretty soon here, you can have the Dark Saber empty, or you can have it with a Flyte board installed. And then they upgrade from there to the Asteria and the Profi. But the Flyte board's their budget board, or their eco board. So the features of it, when it's off, or when it's completely off, the ring, or the little activation ring here is not glowing at all. When you turn it on, you have to hold down the switch, boot, and it says boot, and it starts to flash. All right, when it's in this standby mode with the flashing LED, this is when you change between the preset fonts. And you do that through rapid twisting.
And my rightful place is leader of Death Watch.
So there's a Pre-Vizsla font. Let me fire that one up. Luke font. A Revan font. I'm not real certain what that one is. I should recognize that. I want to say it's sounds kind of like an Asajj Ventress font, but Obi-Wan.
Hello there. I'll show you the dark side.
Kylo Ren.
I claim this sword. I am a Jedi. You'll never. Hello there. I'll show you the dark side. Power off.
Alright, and then you hold down the button and it goes into power saving mode and says power off. Alright, so we had those presets that are on there. Kylo Ren, what I'm guessing is Asajj Ventress, Revan, Luke, Obi-Wan, and Pre-Vizsla. So 6 presets. You cannot change those. The fonts on this thing have Smoothswing, which again is something that you're just starting to see in budget boards. The Smoothswing that's on this is actually hybrid Smoothswing, which is something I've actually only seen with Electrum before. And the Flyte actually makes better use of it than Electrum's hybrid. The Electrum hybrid is still kind of buggy. They keep teasing a patch that's going to fix everything, but it's been probably going on a year, and we still haven't seen that patch. But the hybrid swing on this basically means that if you're moving the saber slowly, you get the smooth swing, which basically is the slight movement or variation in pitch. If you move the saber fast, you get a more classic swing sound like you used to get before smooth swing. So it's sort of the best of both worlds. It's designed to eliminate that sort of lawnmower effect that smooth swing gets when you have continuous swings. It's just the same thing over and over again. So let me go ahead and show you that real quick. Oh, turn it back on. So here's the slow smooth swing. Alright, also built into this, as I was showing you as I was going through the fonts, each font has blaster deflects, which you tap the button for the blaster deflects, has clash effects, and has a lockup. To get the lockup, you have to clash while you're holding the button. After that, you can release the button, and the lockup keeps going until you hit the button again. So let me show you all those real quick. Clash, lockup, blaster, spins, and then power on and power off. Okay, the other onboard thing on this is the same mechanism that you used to, the twisting mechanism that you used to switch the fonts, which, by the way, you notice when I was going through that, in theory, you can switch both directions, and you can cycle through the fonts in both directions. The sensor on this thing is a little bit iffy in terms of whether it knows you're twisting it one way or the other way. So going through or cycling through the fonts, it's a little bit tricky. You might go in or end up going back to Luke when you were trying to move away from Luke. So that's one thing about it. But the twisting effect when the saber is on, you hold the button and twist, and that allows you to cycle between the preset colors. Now you can't see all of the presets too much because of my blade. This is a blade that I designed, or that I customized, that's basically a black blade with red lightning. So everything in here is going to be tinged with red and sort of darkened, which looks great on reds, but when I try to run a white through this, all you're going to see is pink. So you can't really see a lot of the color presets, but it has the basic presets, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, very hot pink, and white, and some shades of each. There's like a lime green. So anyhow, they've loaded it up with the preset colors. The color switch or sound that it makes when you cycle the blade, that was something that I had a little bit of beef with in my my Asteria Saber. In the Asteria Saber, you could go in and change that sound, or that little sound file out. But in this one, you're stuck with the color switch, which is a little bit of a distracting thing to have while you're trying to have a saber that's in motion. So that's maybe not the best, but it is what it is. The only other thing that I would mention about the hybrid Smoothswing on this is with Smoothswing, if you are doing a lot of spinning or you're doing a flow arts routine, Smoothswing has a tendency, like I said, to kind of sound like a lawnmower. With this one, the problem with the hybrid is that in some of the sound fonts where the swing font is substantially different from the Smoothswing font, or sorry, the swing effect is substantially different from the Smoothswing effect, it keeps triggering the swing effect. And so you end up with that same sort of psychotic swing, 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 swing sort of thing in a spin routine that you ended up with in earlier boards before they had Smoothswing. In sound files or sound fonts like the Kylo Ren, it's not as noticeable. In sound fonts like the Pre-Vizsla sound font, it's super noticeable. So as a spinning saber, it's better, but it's not perfect. The one other thing that I wanted to show you about this is the volume control. So while the saber is on, you have the ability to double tap the button and cycle between the volume settings. There's a low, medium, high, and mute. Now, let me get this off a hot pink real quick. There we go. So this is high, mute, low, medium, high, all right, and it defaults to high whenever you turn the saber, or whenever you take the power off or anything like that, or switch between fonts, but it's easy enough to switch. All right, so the Flyte Saber, a very good working saber design, definitely sturdy enough for dueling, which for budget sabers is saying something. The The features on the board, they're good. It's pretty good preset features for a budget board. There's only 6 fonts, which is a little bit on the low side, but they're decent fonts. And it's got some hiccups, but all things told, when you're looking at a saber that's a little over $100, actually I guess between $100 and $200, it's a low end of sabers. This has a lot of bang for the buck, and it's very usable, and it's very well designed, I think, even if it is a little bit basic for some applications. All right. Hopefully this review has been of use to me, or of use to you. Afterwards, I'm going to talk about the accessory that can come with this as an optional, which is the Suba handguard. So we'll look at that, and we'll also be looking at the dark saber pretty soon here. So join me back for those.